Hello, my name is Dr. Konstantin Schimmert. I am a philosopher, podcast host, and coach. Some months ago, I watched a documentary by Sir Trevor McDonald in the BBC about American high security prisons. And at that documentary, I saw one case that touched me a lot. It was about Ronald L Sanford. Ronald is a man today in his late 40s, and he sits in this prison since 1989. He committed a crime that was very severe, very brutal in that time in 1987. It was a double homicide. And two things touched me here very much. The one thing is, Ronald was 13 years old when he committed this crime. He had a very bad situation at home. His mother was on alcohol abuse, his father not existing. The mother was a kind of, at that time, maybe even violent person. This is at least what he told to the reporter. And now we see a young man. It's not even a man. He was a boy. He didn't have the voice of a man. He had the voice of a boy. And yes, we are somehow responsible for our deeds, and we have to take response. But what I really don't understand is, how can somebody who is 13 years old be sentenced to the prison for 170 years? That was the punishment he received. Now he's sitting in a cell, in a single cell, on lockdown for 23 hours a day. 1 hour per day he's allowed to go out, but not like we would imagine how this is. He goes out into a cage, into a single cage, where he can play a little bit basketball on his own. So, how can that be? I mean, I absolutely understand that we have to take responsibility for our deeds. But I would ask whether it is really necessary to send somebody for 60 or 70 years, 80 years. I don't know how long he's gonna live, but he went into prison when he was maybe 14. He came into high security when he was 15. He maybe become 90 years old, I don't know. So it will be like 70 years, almost 80 years. Is this really necessary? Is this fair? Okay, we can ask, was it fair what he did? No, it was not fair. It was not right. And there were certain pieces, bits and pieces I got now when I looked into that whole case. I was thinking, how do we as a society take care for those people? I mean, there was something like, because before this double homicide, he had already a record of little crimes he committed, maybe when he was 11 or 12, I don't know what children do if they grow up in such a bad situation and violence environment. So because he had already a track record, he's already over rehab. There's no chance for rehab anymore. So just forget about him. A second thing that touched me deeply was when I saw this man, Ronald, on my little screen on my phone, or where I watched this documentary. I saw a person who was very clear, very calm. And Mr. McDonald visited him in his little cell, in this little cage. And he stepped into the cell and he said, wow, Mr. McDonald said, wow, I feel the confinement of these walls. This is a pretty isolated place, isn't it? What a question to somebody who has such a fate. And again, I don't want to say that it was right what he did, or that he didn't deserve a kind of punishment or some consequences or whatever, but think about somebody who is today almost 50 years old. I would say this this deed is it's so far away. It was a different person at that time. It is more like a fata morgana. It's like a nightmare, maybe, what haunts you in your dreams. But today he's a different person. He's the person he is. He's sitting in this cell. He has this fate of living in a cage, like an animal. And now Mr. MacDonald said, okay, this is a pretty isolated place. How impressive. And he looked at Ronald Sanford, and Sanford said, it's only isolated to the extent you think it is. He said, the books I read make me able to leave the confinements of these walls. And I thought, what a wise way of putting it. And I thought by myself, aren't we all within confinements? Everybody. Some of us do this by a kind of free will. Let's say sadhu in India, in the forest, in the jungle, who retreats from the world and retreats from everything and just sits in a cave or beneath a tree for years and years and ages. Or let's say a monk in Europe a few hundreds of years ago, if he was deliberately there, a monk in Europe, if he was on free will there, he wasn't put into the monastery, what happened a lot in that time, but maybe he was here because he was convinced to go into the monastery. So he sat in his cell, and there were orders where they really were sitting in their cells. They didn't leave their cells. They were praying and just praying day and night, more or less. There were orders where they even didn't speak. It was just silence. The Carthusians, for example, the Carthusian monks didn't speak at all. Don't speak today. There are still some today. Not very many, but some are there. And so these people are somehow creating an environment where they just feel a confinement in order to set their mind free. They want to get a free mind. They want to get love into their heart. They don't want to be distracted by the world. So, but most of us seek liberty. Most of us try to push the borders, the limitations, the confinements. But at the end, we all are confined. We all feel confinement. And if it is that we have to breathe every day, and if it is that we are in this body, that we are in this physics, that we feel what we feel and think what we think, even this question, there's a very interesting podcast by Sam Harris about this question. We don't decide what we're gonna think next. It just comes over us. We cannot foresee our next thoughts. So, and why do I tell you all that? Because I think we can learn from a person like Ronald Sanford. We can learn from him because he has a fate that is so extreme. We can't imagine that fate. We cannot imagine that. Think about it. Think about, I know there was some deed he did, but he was a child. And Think about if you have children, think about how much they change when they turn to adults and how little they can really remember of what they did when they were children. And so it was a different life. It was a different person from his point of view. But still, it is his fate now to sit in the cell every day. And he's not alone with that. There are others, I guess. I'm sure. Many others. And he cannot choose. He has to sit there. And so here still is a choice. There is a book by Viktor Frankl which shows that also very impressively. I will talk about it later. So he has a choice. He has the choice to go either into madness, into anger, into violence, or he can go into growth, into spiritual growth, into mental growth, into sanity. And if you hear him talking, he's somehow very, very clear, and I would say has a better mental health than many other people running around outside. And this impresses me, and I thought by myself, okay, there is somebody we can learn from him, because how can you manage with that? How can you deal with that and stay so healthy? And even not only stay healthy, but develop yourself personally. Maybe if he wouldn't have been put into jail, maybe if he would have stayed outside, maybe he today, I don't know, maybe he would be a violent person or somebody who does a lot of bad into the world, and who is very limited in his thoughts and is in a spiral of violence and bad thoughts. Maybe it would be like that, and I don't say that he should be grateful for his fate, but I think it shows something to us. It shows that in extreme situations we always have a big chance of growth, and he chose that, and this impresses me a lot. So this is the reason why I decided to write a letter to him. And I thought, let's find out more about him. And I hope that this letter would reach him, and that he maybe would repeat. And he did this. And so it was for me a big and exciting moment when, after I wrote him somewhere in April 2021, so the spring, and I received a letter in June. And now, what I would like to do now is I would like to read those letters, and I would like to start a channel, a blog, a podcast, whatever, where I want to document, I want to publish, I want to show to the public the progress of this exchange of letters. And my hope is that on the one side, there is a person who has to pay for what he did 30 years ago. And yes, he's paying, but on the other side, he can contribute something. he can give something to me and to you, to the listeners, to the readers. We can learn something from such a person. And so this is the one thing. I want everybody to be able to learn from Ronald and from our conversation. I hope I can contribute also the one or other thing here. And the second goal is that I would like to create support for Ronald. So this is why I have started a Patreon account on this channel. And the money which would be contributed here will 100% go into support for Ronald. So support will be, on the one side, make his life a little bit easier. I have already some letters, and I already can tell you that the circumstances where these guys in this prison are living in are not very good. Even in terms of nourishment, in terms of hygienic products and so on. And so we can do some support here. He has a little account where he can somehow, if he has some money on it, he can buy some products, he can get some better food, he can get some shampoo or toothpaste or whatever he would need here. So this is very important, and we can help here. We really help a person, a man, a human being who anyhow already has to pay a lot. And maybe even there's, I don't know, maybe there's a little chance to change something in his situation, maybe even to set him free. I don't know whether this is possible, because as far as I see, I have here I have here a printout of some notes from some court from January 2016, where I think he repeatedly tried to somehow change something to get some documents back in order to maybe send a request in for how you call it, appeal to appeal his convictions. That's the right word here. It's very extreme in my point of view, and please forgive my not perfect English. I'm not from the United States. English is not my native language. I'm a German, so I'm from Germany, and I try to get through this thing here. I don't understand the whole thing. I don't understand he would have had the right to appeal his sentence, but they didn't tell it to him at that time. He was a boy. So, and then he tried somehow to reopen something. He didn't have money, so he didn't have a good lawyer, I guess. It was just this public defender who, I guess, has many cases every day. And then he tried, and then he stopped trying it, and then he tried again, and now they say, no, you didn't try hard enough. We didn't tell you right. You were a boy. You are absolutely uneducated because you went into jail when you were 14. But you didn't follow the rules of this very complicated laws. And now he somehow lost his chance maybe to appeal his sentence. But if he would be able to create some help for this man, also some financial help, maybe if we would have a good lawyer in the United States, really somebody who understands what he's doing and who put some energy into that, maybe we can help this man. And I think it's worth trying it, because it's a human being, and I think each and every human being is worth in our country, I don't want to say that we do things better than anybody else. But there's one thing I really like. We have our constitution, and the absolutely number one paragraph of the constitution is the dignity of humans is untouchable. So, and that's the highest rule in our country. And I think it's not because we are so smart. We are not smarter than anybody else. And we in Germany, we have a very, very dark spot in our history. 80, 90 years ago. But out of this experience, we have created this constitution. And our experience told us, and I think it's a general rule for humanity, the dignity of a human being is untouchable. So what is about the dignity of a prisoner? What is the dignity of a human being who did something wrong, made a wrong decision when he was 13 years old? Now he is almost 50 years old, sitting in a single cell since 30 whatever years, 35 years. I don't understand that. How we can sit here and don't do anything. So, okay, I would like to read now the first letters. And this will be now the procedure for this blog, for this channel, that there is a website of mine where I will public all the letters, all the communication. I will from time to time comment on it also. And on the other side, I have created this channel. The name is Across the Pond. You will very soon understand why we have chosen this name. And in this channel, I will collect whatever news we have on him. There are some these documentaries by Trevor McDonald. There are some other news. There was a TV show about him some 10 years ago or 8 years ago, and all this I will collect. If there is any other news, I will put it into this channel. And I will read these letters, maybe not all of them, each and every one, but I will try to read. And I will, because I want people also to be able to listen to this case and not only to read. Because I made the experience, it's sometimes really nice to listen, and it's easier, and you can ease into that and ease into this story. And so I will read it and from time to time also comment it, so as I did today. So I will read now this letter. It was dated May 1st, 2021, Starnberg, Germany. I wrote, "Dear Mr. Sanford, you are probably surprised to receive a letter from Germany. I would like to introduce myself briefly. My name is Konstantin Schimmert. I'm a philosopher and coach. I recently saw you talk with Mr. Trevor McDonald, and it touched me deeply. I'm very interested in life stories of people, especially when I see how people develop personally. You live in extraordinarily difficult circumstances, and it seems that you have chosen a path of personal growth in this situation. That impresses me very much. I think you have already paid a lot for the deed that happened so many years ago, and you will have to pay even more. But I also believe that you could now extend to make a valuable contribution in our global human community. The one does not exclude the other. Therefore, I want to offer you an exchange of letters with me. I would like to learn from your insights and experiences and make this information available to others. If you allow me, I would start to write you some questions about your thinking and your life. In exchange, you can ask me also anything you want to know. It would be a great pleasure and honor for me to receive a positive response from you. Please forgive me my not perfect English. It's not my native language. If you are willing for an exchange of letters, please let me know by which way it can take place, whether by letter or email. Also, please let me know if there are any topics that are not allowed to be addressed. If the postage cost to Germany should be an issue, I would gladly take them over. I would then only need to know how I can do that. In joyful expectation for an answer from you, I remain, respectfully, Konstantin Schimmert. So, just only 4 weeks later, I received in my postal box a letter from Mr. Sanford. It was a very exciting moment for me. It is somehow a miracle how we can reach other persons on this planet. I just sat some months ago in front of my little phone and watched on YouTube a documentary about this man, and I just start researching how can I reach him and so on. And I wrote him a letter. I put some address and things on it. I put a number on it and so on. And now I reached him, sitting in his cell, in his single cell. It is really a miracle for me. And so I received the letter, and what I wanted to show you is, it's a copy, but still how accurate he wrote his answer. There is not one spelling mistake. There is not one thing that he corrected. It's absolutely clean, proper. So he wrote very nice letters by hand. 3 pages to me. May 30th, 2021. Dear Dr. Schimmert, first let me say thank you so very much for reaching out to me from across the big pond. I am certain there are myriad of tasks you would have been busy with while taking the time to pen the missive you forwarded to me. Secondly, I would definitely like to open an exchange with you, but I'm unsure I can satisfy the request for information you desire from me. However, I am willing to give it a try. I don't really want to dive into particulars, but of what I'm saying or at the moment that will become apparent as we move ahead. Just know there is an abundance of pain and hurt that I have not been able to excise from my person in all these years. Nevertheless, the costs of snail mail would be prohibitive for me to keep up an exchange through that medium. I'm not indigent, however. The few funds I do receive, I must expand them on hygiene and feeding myself. There is no other alternative presently. I'm unemployed, and the prospects of that reality changing doesn't look promising. All hope is not lost, though there is another way to still make a connection. We have a quasi-email messaging system called Global Tel Link GTL, where you can send me a request, and upon acceptance, we can communicate by way of text messages. You have to go to connectnetwork.com to set up an account, and then we'll be able to go from there. Hopefully, upon investigation, you'll be able to navigate the necessary requirements, and I'll gladly add you to my friends list. I wanted to return the script to you in a timely fashion, if only to say thanks for the time taken out of your daily life to busy yourself with mine. So with that, I'll sign off and allow the aethers to work its magic and look forward to the resultant effect. With kind regards from this side of the pond, Ron, aka Ariel. So this is his letter, and I would say it's a beautiful letter. Just would like to comment on one or two little things here. The one is he signs with Ariel, and we will go hopefully a little bit more into that. I already asked him about why he doesn't call himself Ronald or Ron or Ronald Sanford, and why Ariel, and he told me it's kind of a spiritual name he took on in the kind of brotherhood he is in. And so I'm really curious and looking forward about his story, about how did he find supporting elements, supporting beings, because it seemed that even in this hostile environment of a high security prison, there are humans. It's a human community again, and so it seemed that there is also some help. There is a German saying, I don't know how I can translate it really properly into English, but it's kind of, it says, it's a very old saying, and it says, where the danger is threatening you, the help is growing. So it means, so there where danger are coming up and growing, then there are also on the other side somehow helpful hands coming. There is help coming, help growing. Another comment I would like to make here is already starting going into his circumstances, is that email system, this quasi email system he's referring to. I indeed did that. So I created an account there, and we started communicating on this system, and it worked. It worked definitely, but it is really not a good system. And this is something I would really want to make public. I'm sure there are thousands of users across the United States having this pain with this system. It's really not good. There are so many things. The first thing is each and every mail. I don't have the exact number here now by heart, but it's like each mail costs us 20, 30, 40 cents. So think about you would have to pay for each mail you send 20 or 30 cents. Think about that. I mean, and this is the first thing. The second thing is that you have a restriction on, I think, is it like maybe maximum 2,000 letters per message. 2,000 seem to be a lot, but on the other side, it's not a lot at all. If you really want to write, so this letter of Ronald here and this point of Ariel, I would like to call him Ariel as well, wouldn't have fit into this system. It would be already too long. So why restricting that? I don't understand. But okay, it seemed that maybe there's one thing that each and every letter will be checked by some officers, whether there is something in the which is not allowed, or so I don't know how you can do harm with written letters, but okay, they have to check it. So maybe they want to restrict it for this reason. On the other side, a paper mail is not restricted. So, and the third thing is that it's unstable. So you write the letter, and then you push the sending button, and then it's gone. It's just gone. So you have used maybe 1 hour time to write a nice letter, or half an hour time, and then it's gone. And so if I'm sitting on a proper computer, I don't have such a big problem because I just copy the text first, or I write it first in a Word document, and then I copy paste it in, and then it's fast enough, and then it doesn't go blue. But for Ronald's situation, he don't has such a device. He has a very primitive kind of tablet thing where he can't do copy paste or things like that. He just can type his letters into that, and then it's gone. And he's sitting there and trying to write the letter, and he never know whether it goes through or it is again going blue, and he has to start again. So this is really, I don't understand in the year 2021 how this has to be, how this can be. But okay, this is just some hint and comment. On the other side, I'm very grateful that anyhow there is a system existing where you can connect from Germany to a prisoner in Indiana State Prison and sitting on a lifelong sentence. So it's really on the other side. I also have to praise the system here. Also, it was really easy to find Ronald. So I just typed in his name, and I suddenly came to a web page where it's kind of a registered web page. I'm sure United States citizens are familiar with that. So you find a page and you find everything. You find all information. You find the prisoner number. You find the postal address and so on. And you can write, and it is delivered. So 4 weeks later, I had already my response on my table. So that's really good. So just not to be only negative. Okay, my dear listeners, if you are still watching after such a long session, I really appreciate positive or any comments. I appreciate if you follow this channel. I appreciate if you give us a thumbs up, if you hit the bell. I appreciate if you forward that to others. I think it's so important. It's just a little thing on the one side. It's just one person, one prisoner of thousands, hundred thousands of prisoners. But it is one human being, and it is a one world. Yeah, everybody is a world. So let's help this world. It's not so much you have to do, and let's help this world, and let's learn from this human being. Learn from his story. So please, if you are anyhow able, if you have any capacities, just give him a little bit from your luck, from your well-being, from your money you have. Yeah. Give him €5, $5 per month. What is that for you? And how much would it be for him? So please, if possible, join us on our Patreon page and donate something to him, contribute. It's not a donation, it's more a contribution on the teachings we get from him now. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. I'm looking forward to this journey that just begins here and now. I remain your Konstantin Schimmert from Germany. Thank you.